Good afternoon. Welcome to the Alliant 3 Opportunity Joint Webinar held by GDI Consulting and HigherGov. My name is Cal, and I am your Artificial Intelligence host today. With me is Ab Vand, VP for Capture at GDI Consulting and a subject matter expert on these opportunities, and Justin Sykin, founder of HigherGov. Ab has over 30 years of experience in capture and proposal management. He is considered an expert in self-scoring, or as some people call it, scorecard proposals similar to Alliant. He has successfully managed over 100 such proposals from OASIS and HCATS to Alliant 2 and CIO, SP4 and other similar opportunities. Ab has managed over 1,000 successful capture and proposals and is a regular contributor to Washington Technology and other online GovCon magazines. He has also held numerous training webinars for various APMP chapters and Apex, previously PTAC, offices throughout the U.S. As for Justin, it is better that he introduces himself. Justin, please go ahead.
Hello, my name is Justin Sykin. I'm the president and founder of HigherGov, a government market intelligence platform. We support more than 1,000 companies with more than $200 billion in annual federal and SLED awards. Our focus is on helping companies automate the business development strategies that are key to success in modern government contracting, with a big focus on helping folks identify opportunities before their competitors. A big part of that is identifying what contracting vehicles are important and what task orders are likely to come out on those vehicles. Before founding HigherGov, I helped buy and sell more than 20 companies worth $25 billion across the GovCon, FinTech, and media sectors. Today, I spend all my time focused on government data and technology.
Thank you, Justin. I should mention that we have also included this clip which explains the various capabilities and services that HigherGov provides to government contractors. You can refer to this once you download the presentation slides. Before starting, there are a few housekeeping notes I would like to mention. First, this webinar is being recorded and the link to the recording will be sent to you within 24 hours. Second, we will hold a Q&A session at the end. You can send your questions during the webinar by the chat system to the right of your window and Ab will address them at the end. Third, you can download this presentation by clicking on the link under File on the right-hand side panel on your window. We highly recommend you download the slide deck so that you can always refer back to it. So let's see what this webinar covers. We will first have a quick glimpse on GDI Consulting's self-scoring capabilities. Justin will then provide a short review of how the Alliant program, that is Alliant 1 and 2, is performing. Then we will start with providing the general information on Alliant 3. Next will come the proposal structure and then the scoring system, which is a deep dive into the requirements and how the scoring works. As pricing is now included in these self-scoring RFPs, Ab will explain how to prepare your pricing submission as well. Then Ab will discuss the selection process. We will also touch on the subject of partnering, as it is an important issue in Alliant 3. Finally, before going into the Q&A, we will have some experience sharing, including the issues of compliance and what could go wrong, and our recommendations towards preparing your proposal. If I want to summarize the message that we want to convey in this webinar, it is that you should not underestimate the workload, nor the importance of compliance. So, with that, I will now hand over the control to Ab to first give a short glimpse on GDI Consulting's capabilities. Ab, you can take over now.
Hello everyone, and thank you for participating in our webinar. As Cal mentioned, you can download the presentation slides through the right-hand side panel. I highly recommend that you do that because I will have to go very quickly on some issues, but you can always refer back to the slide deck. And of course, we'll have a Q&A at the end, so you can ask your questions there as well. Okay, so having said that, let's start with a glimpse of GDIC's capabilities. I'll go very quickly over this. We've had over a decade of solid performance. In 2023, we had 226 wins with $11.9 billion of worth of contracts that we got for our clients. Now, as far as self-scoring success is concerned, you can see that table. It says Alliant 2 for large businesses. We actually helped 6 large businesses win on that. OASIS 12. Small businesses 41, Astro 18, 29, HCATS 1, 8, and WETS 2 was only for small business. We've not included all, including OASIS Plus. We had approximately, we helped 108 companies on OASIS Plus, but since the outcomes have not been announced, we did not include that in our success, but we think that probably 100% win on all the contracts that we help with. So moving forward, these are some of the agencies that we have worked with in terms of what our clients have targeted. I will not go into the details of these. So in terms of the success of our self-scoring proposals, I just wanted to say 105 proposals prepared for OASIS Plus, 3 or 4 reviews, all with scores above the acceptable range, and the rest I think I mentioned in the previous slide. We've had an average win rate of 96% on our previous self-scoring proposals, and that has been improving as our experience has been getting more and more refined, doing a lot of these self-scoring proposals. I think our company has done over 200 of these. And we've done self-scoring training for Apex offices, APMP, and also private clients. As far as our clients are concerned, they range from very, very small companies all the way to some of the largest defense contractors on the market, and we help them maximize their score and ensure compliance in these self-scoring proposals that we prepare for them.
The Alliant program has grown steadily over the course of its history, from a program that didn't exist in 2009 to a program that will likely have 9 to 10 billion in awards. Zooming in further, Alliant 2 has been an important vehicle not just for prime contractors, but for subcontractors as well. Depending on the year, another 2 to 4 billion in subcontracts has been awarded on top of the prime numbers on the prior slide through the Alliant 2 vehicle. Based on the requirements of Alliant 3, I expect that trend and level of subcontracts will continue into the future. The chart on this page shows the major prime vehicles that are used for NAICS 541, 512 computer systems design services. Close to 31% of all 541, 512 awards last year went through Alliant. So if you want to do business on 512, Alliant is a critical vehicle to have access to. Similar to how the very closely related NAICS code 541, 511 computer programming services, roughly 50% of that goes through the multiple award schedule, and it's sort of seen as a de facto requirement to be active in that market. 541, 512 is the same for Alliant. I'd be surprised if Alliant 3 doesn't eventually reach a level 512 where 50% of awards are going through that vehicle. A few more summary charts here. Based on the product service codes in the Alliant 2 vehicle, roughly 70% of the work went to IT purchases, with the other 27% being professional services. Roughly half of the work has been cost plus, with the remainder relatively evenly split between fixed price and T&M contracts by dollar spent. Looking at Alliant 2 spending by agency, the vehicle has been heavily used across the government. The vehicle has been very important regardless of whether or not contractors have been focused on DoD or civilian. Really the only areas of agency focus where I'd say you really don't need to have access to Alliant would be if you're focused on an agency that has another vehicle they're putting that sort of work through. For example, the VA puts most of their 541, 512 work through the T4NG vehicle. And CMS puts most of their work through Spark. For most other contractors, though, particularly those that are pursuing sort of a broad government strategy, Alliant again is sort of a critical vehicle for that work. The top contractors on Alliant 2 are not super surprising. It's most of the broad government IT contractors. This list also hasn't evolved too significantly over the life of Alliant 2. I expect the list will remain relatively steady going into Alliant 3, barring acquisitions.
Okay, so that was a glimpse of Alliant 1 and 2 program. You can see it's a healthy program, and Alliant 3 is expected to be even better than that with an open ceiling. Now, let's start with Alliant 3 and go into the details of this opportunity. So, obviously, it's by GSA, multiple award IDIQ GWAC. GWAC meaning that multiple agencies can actually use it. It's not just towards one agency. It has an open ceiling, 5-year base plus 5 years option. It's obviously IT with a NAICS code of 541512. That NAICS code is important because it specifies whether you're small or large. So when we are discussing small businesses and large businesses under Alliant, as we go along this webinar, small means that you are considered small under NAICS code 541512 as far as Alliant 3 is concerned. And OTSB, or other than small business or large businesses, are those that are large under NAICS code 541512. Doesn't matter on the other NAICS code. This is the criteria to find out if you're small or large. Number of awards 76. It was 60. Has been changed after the latest draft RFP. They changed it to 76. The full RFP was issued on June 28th, so just last month, end of last month. And questions are due 26th of July, and they expect to answer them by around 23rd of August of this year. So please work on the proposal and come up with all your questions, submit them before that 26th of July date. Now, the proposals are due 28th of October, assuming that all the questions have been answered by August, and then companies can prepare their proposal. You'll see that, and I'll explain, that does not mean that you should wait until August to start on your proposal. There's a lot to be done, and I hope I will convey the proper message through this webinar. Now, award date is estimated currently at February 2025. We'll have to see how much the usual slippage of government plays into it. Okay, so here I've listed all the scope for Alliant 3. I'm not going to read them off. You can always refer back to it, but essentially it covers everything that is related to information technology, including all the new technologies that are on the market. So let's now go into the main part of the webinar, which is the proposal structure and the scoring system. So the proposal structure, if you look at it in terms of volumes, but it's not really volumes, because at the end of the day, you will be submitting through a Symphony, and it has its own. Symphony is, if you're not familiar, it's a portal by GSA. It has its own system for submitting, so it's not by volumes like this, but this gives you an idea of the different parts of this submission. So there is a general, or volume 1 general administrative, so to say, all the SF-49 and so on and so forth, plus any conflict of interest, other information that is needed, and we'll get to that later on. And it's essentially L511 to L518 that discusses this. Then you go into the relevant experience part, that's volume 2. It has two different types. They call them NAICS reps. Rep is relevant experience project. So NAICS reps, and then ET reps, or emerging technology reps. Two different types of relevant experience projects, and we'll go into detail of these later on. Then you have the past performance. Then you have systems, certifications, and clearances. You get points for those. Responsibility matters, including GSA Form 527. Organizational risk assessment, and then sustainability. So these are essentially the different parts of the submission that you have to provide. Let's go into the scoring system, and it will give you an idea how those tie into each other. So there are 5 main factors, or 5 distinct. I shouldn't say main, because some of them are much smaller than the others, but 5 different distinct factors involved in the score. I hope everybody listening is familiar with self-scoring proposals. I'm not going to go into the details of that. If you're not familiar, you can jump on our website, www.gdicwins.com. We have a lot of webinars just explaining how self-scoring by itself works, what's the difference between a self-scoring proposal and a traditional proposal that you write towards management volume and technical volume and that sort of thing. So I'm not going to discuss that here due to the time constraint. Hopefully you can follow up with us. So 5 factors. Experience, which I mentioned, has 2 different parts: NAICS reps and ET reps. Reps were relevant experience projects, and ET was emerging technology. So NAICS reps and ET reps. Then you have past performance, you get points for that. Then you get points for systems, certifications, and clearances. Points for organizational risk assessment, I'll go into detail what that is. And then sustainability, we'll see what that is as well. So if you want to see the points, so you can see that the largest are the NAICS reps, 37,000 points there. Emerging technology reps, 9,100. Organizational risk assessment 7,000. Past performance, 17,500. Systems and certifications, 17,600. And then sustainability, 1,750, for a total of 89,950. I've seen some emails and brochures and things like that with a total of 92,200 or something like that. That is wrong. That was the previous RFP, the draft RFP. The new RFP has changed some of these scoring, so it's now 89,950. Nearly, you can think of it as 90,000 points. So that's the maximum you can get. Okay, now what I will be doing going forward from here on is I will be going into the details of each of these main factors to see how the scoring works. Before going into that, you can see this graph shows the comparison of some of these, and you can see that the NAICS reps are the most important. You want to get the maximum there, but the others are all important here, and I'll get to that. But what I want you to understand is that unlike OASIS or other self-scoring proposals in which you had to be above a specific threshold to win automatically, this is not the case. They're going to rank you based on your score and pick the top 76. So you don't want to miss even 1 point. So you need to get all of those points if you can. This is separate from OASIS, where you, for example, minimum threshold for small business was 36 and large business 42. If you were above 42, it didn't matter if you were 43, 44, or 45, you got the contract. But here, even 1 point matters. So you really need to work on all these. Okay, moving forward, let's start with the NAICS reps, or NAICS relevant experience projects. So the NAICS reps, which was 37,000 if you remember, itself has 5 different subcategories, subfactors. Relevant NAICS reps by themselves as base, then project size and complexity, multiple agency award, cost reimbursement, and foreign location. So all of these, you can get points to make up those 37,000 points. Now, what I should mention is that this is based on 7 contracts that you provide. So not more than 7 contracts. And if you want to win, not less than 7 contracts. So don't think that you can win if you bring in 6 contracts or 5 contracts. You really need to get those 7 contracts in place. I'll show you in a minute how the scoring works, but this is how they compare to each other. So here, the base points are the most important with 17,500, and then the project size and complexity, and then cost reimbursable and multiple agency are approximately the same, and foreign location 1,500. So let's see how these are calculated. First, let's see what are the minimum requirements for these. So type of contracts. Contracts can be single standalone contracts or task orders under single or multiple award IDIQs or BPAs, or task orders under FSS contracts. All of those are acceptable. In fact, you can bring in contracts from state governments, non-government or commercial contracts as well. So all of that is acceptable. And also, you can have prime contracts or contracts that you performed as a subcontractor to another prime. That's acceptable too. So you can see it's pretty easy to have any type of contract. Now, there is a recency or contract date requirement. If it's an ongoing contract that you're going to use, one of those 7, it must have at least 1 year of performance. So you can't use a contract that you got 2 months ago. So 1 year of performance. if it's a completed contract, the completion date must be within the past 5 years from the release of the RFP. So 5 years, go back 5 years from 28th of June 2024, that would be 28th of June 2019. Any completion date after that date is acceptable. It doesn't matter when it started, 20 years ago, but the completion date must be within the past 5 years. Now, there's a restriction on the contract value, and this is where some companies might not be comfortable with and might have to think twice. The contract value must be equal to or greater than $7,500,000. So $7.5 million is the contract value. Now, if it's a completed contract, well, that's it. The value, the obligated value counts. So maybe the contract was for $5 million, but essentially in the process of execution, it reached 7.5 million and it was completed. So that's for an completed contract, obligated amount. But if it's an ongoing contract, then it doesn't matter if you have received only $1 million, you're in the second year or third year, you've received $2 million, whatever. But if the value is on the paper, including all the option years, that's what counts. So maybe the value is $15 million, including all the option years. That's the value that you will use, $15 million. Now, if you might say for commercial contracts and for state contracts and that sort of thing, so that's the value that's written on the award form of the contract. And of course, in terms of relevance, now remember I said 541, 512, that was for being small or large. But relevance means that any contract that has the NAICS code 518210, 541511, 541512, 541513, and 541519. So essentially all IT type contracts. Now, there's also a form that comes with the RFP that if you have a contract that does not have these NAICS codes, you can actually get it signed by the contracting officer who attests that the contract was relevant to one of these NAICS codes and it's acceptable. So don't worry if the NAICS code of your contract is something else. You just have to get that form filled out by your contracting officer. So these are the requirements. Now let's look at the numbers. So 7 is the maximum number of contracts that you bring, and essentially my recommendation is that don't go for below that. So 7 contracts. Each contract you get 2,500 for the base count for a total of 17,500 points. Now, in terms of for the project size and complexity, if your contract is between 7.5 million and 34.9 million, which is the minimum that you have, you get 500 points for each. So that's given, because the minimum you have even for that relevance in the base, number one, is that the requirement is that the contracts must be above $7.5 million. So obviously you're using contracts that are larger than 7.5. So you get that 500 point. But if one of your contracts is between 35 million and $99.99 million, you get 1,000 points for it. And anything above $100 million, you get 1,500 points. So for those smaller companies who don't have contracts above $35 million, you lose 1,000 points per contract. So that's a total of 7,000 points. Perhaps that might be the only place that you might be lacking. So that's not bad, actually, and we'll see why. Let's go to multiple agency award. So if you can show that you actually you were using multiple agencies, you can get 500 points. So if those, say you have 7 contracts all in one agency, then you don't get that point. But if you have those contracts, those 7 contracts in different agencies, then you get 500 points for each of them, for a total of 3,500. So if you have worked with multiple agencies, each of those contracts is with a different agency. And here funding code is important. Funding agency, who was that? Then you get 500 points for each of those 7 for a total of 3,500. Cost reimbursement. Here you can provide 2 contracts only. So 2 contracts, if they're cost reimbursable, each of them get 2,000 points for a total of 4,000 points. And finally, foreign location. If one of your contracts is in a foreign location, the main part of it, not just going for a visit or something, but the main part of execution performance is in a foreign location, you get 1,500 points. Foreign location means outside US. And it doesn't matter if you have more than one, maximum is just 1 contract, 1,500 points. So this is how those 37,000 points are built. Moving to ET reps or emerging technology reps. Okay, so there are 13 different sub-factors. The first 11 are essentially different fields. So AI, big data, cloud computing, cybersecurity, edge computing, extended reality, health information technology, Internet of Things, IoT, mobile IT, quantum computing, and zero trust network. So these are 11 areas that you can get 600 points for each. I'll show you now in a minute. For a maximum of 6,600 points. Now, the 12th and 13th one, breadth of ET and use of small business in ET, are different things. So you can, I'll show you in a minute how they're actually calculated. So this is a graph that shows you it compares these sub-factors to each other. 600 points for those 11 different areas. And then 1,500 for breadth of ET, and 1,000 points for use of small businesses in ET or emerging technology. So now let's go into details of these. What are the requirements? So in terms of the requirements, no project that you use may be used more than once. So for these 11, if you're using one for IoT, you cannot use the same project, even though its scope included cloud computing, you cannot use that. So one project per used once only to get a score. Now it's acceptable to use other projects from those 7 that you actually use. So you might have 7 projects for the next reps, and then 11 times, for each of these, you can provide 3 contracts. So 11 times 3 is 33 contracts separate from those 7 overall. The types of contracts are essentially similar restraints compared to NAICS. So, they can be commercial or they can be federal, you can be prime, you can be subcontractor, all of that is the same. The contract date is the same, so 1 year of performance if you're ongoing, and then 5 year if it's a completed contract within the past 5 years from June 28th, 2024. Now, contract value is different here. So the minimum contract value for NAICS reps was $7.5 million. Here is $1 million. And the difference is this. Maybe you did a contract to build a house. So it's a construction contract, but you had a part in it that had Internet of Things in it, maybe $1,000. That's acceptable. So that contract is acceptable if it had an Internet IoT part for $1,000 or $200 or whatever. But it's in the scope, and you can show that contract, even though it was a construction contract, did include an IoT project. So that 1 million is not towards the IoT or the ET, the emerging technology part. It's the total value of the contract. They don't care how much was spent on the actual emerging technology part. And again, the value means if it's a completed contract, the obligated amount, if it's an ongoing one, the same calculation. So all the option years can be included to get that $1 million over. Okay, and obviously in terms of relevance, you have to show it through the scope of work that it did cover, one of those emerging technology areas. Moving forward, you can see here that for each of those 11 areas, you can provide maximum of 3 reps, 3 contracts. So 11 times 3 is 33 contracts overall. The first contract that you provide for each area, you get 100 points. The second contract, you get 200 points. The third contract, you get 300 points. So overall, 600 points per one of those 11 subfactors. Times 11, you get 6,600 overall for these 11 emerging technology areas. Now, breadth of emerging technology reps means if you cover, maybe you only have in one area or 2 areas of those 11, you don't get any points, or one area. But if you have between 2 or 4 categories or areas, if you cover, say, IoT, cloud, and big data, so that's 3, you get 500 points. If you cover just 500, you don't multiply that by anything, just 500 points. If you cover 5 to 7 of those areas, maybe even 1 contract per area, it doesn't have to be 3 contracts per area, even 1 contract is acceptable. 5 to 7, then you get 1,000 points. And then 8 or more, say 11 areas, all of them, you get 1,500 points. So the maximum for breadth of ET is 1,500 in the case of covering 8 or more of those 11 sub-areas. Now, small business usage, that's different. One is that maybe you're a small business competing in Alliant 3, you automatically get 1,000 points. So the prime is a small business, so you automatically get 1,000 points. But if you're a large business, OTSP, other than small business, what you can do is that you can have 5 subcontractors maximum, and you present them with your subcontracting agreement and everything. Then you get 200 points for each, for a total of 1,000 points. Now, this might be mixed up with using these same subcontractors, past performance and things like that. In partnership, we'll see OTSPs, large businesses cannot use past performance, past experience, even ET reps from subcontractors. At least the language in the RFP currently says that. So if you're OTSP, if you're a large business, you are on your own. You have to go solo. You cannot bring in subcontractors and use their numbers, their experience to get those for those 7 contracts for NAICS reps, or here for ET reps. But you can get this 1,000 points, saying that, hey, we are going to use these in our task orders in the future. So the maximum you can get here, if from these subcontractors, is 1,000 points. That's acceptable. Okay, moving forward, let's look at the organizational risk assessment. I've moved this up because it's something that you have to calculate. The way it works is that it has 7,000 points, 1,000 points per contract. Remember, you had 7 contracts that you had to provide for NAICS code NAICS reps, 7 contracts, and for each of those you get 1,000 points here for a total of 7,000 if you're going solo, or if your CTA, that is if you're a large business and you've created a JV with another company, or you're a small business, you've created a MPJV or a JV or a prime sub, any of these, they have actually performed that contract together. So you get 1,000 points if your current teaming has actually performed that contract. So maybe you are using a CTA with another company, but for any of these 7 contracts, they're not contracts that you perform together. Then you don't get these points. These 7,000 points come into place when you actually perform the contracts together. Why is it important? It is important because, for example, let me give you an idea. Maybe you have the 7 contracts yourself, so you're not going after a partner for the 7 contracts, but you don't have the points for the ET reps. You specialize in other types of IT, and these emerging technologies, perhaps you have 1 or 2 of them, you don't have contracts for the rest of them. So one of the ideas might be, hey, I should go and bring these partners, they've done this, and we can use their contracts. Okay, that is acceptable. So you can bring those partners, and you don't lose these 7,000 points because the 7 contracts that you're using are not with these team members. Sorry, I said it backwards. That is not acceptable because the 7 contracts that you are bringing to the table, you did solo. These team members were not part of it. So because these team members were not part of it, you're not going to get the 7,000 points. So you're losing the 7,000 points here for those 7 contracts, but gaining, say, maximum 6,600 for those, assuming that your partners bring in all the points for the emerging technology. So you gain 6,600 points there, but lose 7,000 points here. So you don't want to face that. You have to do a gap analysis and exactly understand what your gains and losses are when you bring in partners. This is very important. So to wrap it up, you lose 1,000 points for each contract if you have a team member in your CTA that was not part of that contract for those 7 contracts. Remember that, and then do your calculations on that basis. Okay, let's move forward. Here, this is just to compare. So organization risk assessment, you get 7,000 points, ET reps, 9,100 max, and then 1,000 of it comes from, say, you're a small business anyway, and you can get it. So 8,100. So you have to weigh these two. If you're already using NAICS reps yourself, but bringing in partners for the ET reps, you must decide whether you're going to actually gain or lose, because you're going to lose those 7,000 points. So that's something to consider. Okay, moving forward, let's go to past performance. Now, in terms of past performance, the total for each of those 7 contracts, so the past performance is towards those 7 contracts for NAICS reps. For each of them, you get 2,500 points for a total of 17,500 points. And you do not have to provide past performance for the ET reps. So ET reps do not need past performance. You need to provide past performance only for the 7 contracts that you used for NAICS reps. Now, if you have a federal contract, you can actually use the latest CPARs. If there is no CPAR, then there's a form JP6 that comes with the RFP, the past performance rating form. You use that. So if a CPAR does not exist, then you use JP6. You can also use that, the form that comes with the RFP for cases that, for example, you were a sub to a prime. You cannot use the CPARs, the prime's CPAR, obviously. Or in case you had a commercial contract. So you get that form filled out by the customer, signed and sent back to you, and you include that in the RFP, in the submission. Okay. So that's how the 17,500 points is calculated. And this is one of the long lead items. So this should start very quickly, this process. But of course, you have to decide which of the 7 contracts that you want to use should be, sent to your customer many companies have more than 7 contracts, and they have to actually do a gap analysis, come up with the best score, juggle these different contracts and perhaps their partners' contracts to find out which are the best 7, and then on that basis send them to, fill out the forms if it doesn't have a CPARS, and then send them to the customers for signature. But this should start as soon as possible. Let's look into the system certifications and clearances part and the scoring. So there are 12 areas here that you can get points for: adequate cost accounting system, approved purchasing system, current FPRA, FPRR, EVMS, acceptable estimating system, CMMI, ISO 9001, ISO 20000, ISO 27001, and FCLs, facility clearances, whether secret or top secret. So let's look at the numbers. You can see the largest, or the one that you should go for, is the adequate accounting system, cost accounting system, 6,000 points. And top secret also gets 3,500 points. The rest of them are either 1,500 or less. So this is a comparison of how they work into the score. So let's look at the numbers. So for adequate cost accounting system, you can get 6,000 points if it's approved or certified by DCAA or DCMA. But many companies have a third-party CPA or CFA who has approved and certified their accounting system. That's acceptable, but it gets 3,000 points. Previously, in other GSA RFPs, they did not accept that, so you would lose that entirely. Now they have started to use this. So if you have an adequate accounting system that has been CPA certified or CFA certified, you get 3,000 points. Same stands for approved purchasing system. So if DCAA or DCMA approved it, certified it, you get 1,500 points. But if you had a CPA or CFA approving it, certifying it, you get 750 points. Now for current FPRA, FPRR, obviously it has to come from the government. You get 300 points. EVMS, again, 100 points. Acceptable estimating system, again, if it's certified by DCAA or DCMA, you get 200 points. CPA or CFA, you get 100 points. CMMI, so you need, if you have level 3, you get 1,500 points. So level 3 or higher, it doesn't matter, it's services or development, you get 1,500 points. For level 2, you get 1,000 points. ISO 9001, 1,500 points. ISO 20000, 1,500 points. ISO 27001, cybersecurity, 1,500 points. And then government FCL, if you have top secret, you get 3,500. If you have secret, you get 2,000 points. So that's how calculated. Now, one thing I should mention here, and going back a slide, so you can see these, where there is the DCAA, DCMA, and CPA certified, if you don't have any of them, we have approximately 3.5 months to the submission date. Now, you cannot, in all reality, get DCAA or DCMA to approve your, say, accounting system or purchasing system in 3 months. That's not realistic. But you might be able to get a CPA or CFA to certify you. So that's something you can go after. So don't, just sit down and say, hey, I don't have this. This is impossible. Go for it. I mean, get a CPA to get you an approved purchasing system, to get you an approved cost accounting system, and also an acceptable estimating system. All of these are doable. And don't say it's just 100 points for estimating system. That can be a difference between selecting you or another company. So don't miss any of these, and use these 3.5 months to actually get these certifications in hand, so you can submit them with your submission. Okay, lastly, sustainability. So they have changed sustainability. Essentially, it was used to be 3,500 points, 1,750 if you had scope 1 or 2, and then another 1,750 if you had scope 3. Now it's any of these. So you get 1,750 points if you have scope 1 or scope 2 or scope 3. Doesn't matter. You get that 1,750 points. And I've written what is scope 1, what is scope 2, and what is scope 3. In case you want to read it, I'm not going to go into the details of these. But again, that's something you can go after. There are companies, third parties that come in, review your system, and issue that, help you actually get that scope 1 out. And it's fairly simple. At least get that scope 1 or scope 2 in place so you can get that 1,750 points. Okay, before going to pricing, let me have a break for everyone and answer a few questions so you can actually breathe a little bit. Okay, one of the questions, let's pick this one. Stephen, how is the 5-year period contract calculated? Was it from the proposal submission date? Or was it not? Yeah. Okay. So in the previous draft RFP, it was calculated. It said from proposal submission date (TBD), because at the time, it was not clear. But now that the full RFP is out, they've said that it's from the proposal issuance date, the RFP issuance date. So, and the RFP issuance date is 28th of June 2024. So you have to calculate back 5 years from that date. They've changed that, yes. Maria, question. Why do you think smaller businesses have a chance to compete against larger businesses? Okay, I will go into details of this in partnering, but there are two main reasons, or the main reason is partnering, essentially. They have reduced the value of the contracts from $10 million to $7.5 million. That's a little bit easier for smaller businesses or smaller, large businesses, whatever. But the main difference between small businesses and OTSBs, large businesses, is that OTSBs, large businesses, cannot use partnering to increase their price, their score. That's the main differentiation between large and small. So small businesses can partner, maybe 4, 5, 10 companies can come together, create a team, and actually go for it and have a good chance of winning, because they can actually put the score together. Maybe one has 2 contracts above 7.5 million, another has 3, another has 4, and they put them together and they reach that 7 contract limit and the other requirements as well. So the main reason that small businesses have a good chance on Alliant 3 is that they can use partnering to boost their score, whereas large businesses cannot. So either the large businesses have it or don't have it. Either they have those ET, emerging technology contracts, or they don't have it. They cannot bring in partners to get the score. At least so far, if they don't change, if GSA does not change that, so far large businesses cannot use projects from their subcontractors towards next experience reps or ET reps, plus past performance and the others. So that was my answer. Okay, let's continue on then. I hope that was a breather. Let's start with pricing, because that's something that should be considered. So pricing, there are points to consider when you're submitting your price submission. It's very, very easy. So don't panic towards pricing. It's not something that's going to take a lot of time from you. So there is a price template, attachment JP8, that you have to fill out. That's all that you have to fill out for your pricing. It has 4 tabs, actually 5, but 4 main tabs. Government worksite, contractor worksite, and then 3A, government rate evidence, and 3B, contractor rate evidence. Now, you only have to fill out government rate evidence and contractor rate evidence for the labor categories that are above the government's maximum limit. So essentially, if you're good with what the government has provided as maximum fully burdened rate, and it is in that JP8 on that government worksite and contractor worksite tabs, if you're good with that and your number is below that, you do not have to fill out the government rate evidence for that LCAT. You don't have to, I shouldn't say fill out, you don't have to provide evidence towards that. You have to provide pricing for 31 different LCATs or positions. So that government worksite and contractor worksite tabs, there are 31 rows for different LCATs or positions, and you have to fill in the first year fully burdened rate numbers. And then the system automatically calculates it for the other years on a 3.93% yearly increase. So all you have to do is fill out those 31 points LCATs on tab government worksite and on tab contractor worksite, and essentially you're done. Most of the work is done. And the thing is, as long as you're below that maximum fully burdened labor rate that the government is, that GSA is providing, you, as I said, you do not have to provide any evidence on how you actually calculated your pricing. So maybe the pricing they're giving for one of these LCATs is $108. All you have to do is put 107.95, and that's it. You don't have to provide justification how you came to calculate that. That's it. Just deduct 5 cents from it, and that's it. And note that they're not going to compare you with other companies, whether your prices are lower or higher, anything like that. When they're looking at your price submission, they want to see everything is fully put in. So all the 31 LCATs must be filled out, and your name and everything. So they want completeness, also reasonableness. So your prices must be reasonable, meaning that they must be less than the maximum limit. And we are recommending everybody to put just a few cents below the maximum that the government is providing, and that's it. You're not, you're not obligated to provide any justification for that, and that's your price submission. Okay, let's now consider the source selection process. So the source selection process has 4 main steps. In step 1, they rank the submissions. So remember, they're going to pick the 76 out of all of the submissions. So maybe they receive 500 proposals. They're not going to look at all the 500. They are going to just rank them on the basis of your own self-scoring that you have done. So you've done a self-scoring, you've submitted it on Symphony. Symphony automatically calculates your score, and then it is automatically ranked. So they pick the top 76. In those top 76, they look for making sure that everything is in place, all the documents, all the forms, everything is in place. If they have to weed out anything, they weed out and then pick another one. So they picked 76 companies. They find out that 2 companies have not submitted, for example, their SF 1449. I'm just giving an example. They put those aside. They're not going to look at their proposal. They put those aside and pick 2 more from the top list. So perhaps the 77th and 78th in terms of the rank. They pick those and start looking at those. So this is how it works with support document. Then they go into the acceptability review. Now, in acceptability review, it's explained in section M4. They're going to look at some of the basic documents and the content of those, and I'm going to show you that in the next slide. They're not going to look into your score and how you proved your score. That's in the last step, that document evaluation process. Here in acceptability review, they want to see that you filled out the 1449 probably, you had the overtime uncompensated policy plan in place, all those documents that they want to see. They want to make sure that they are in there and they're good to go. If that's the case, then they look at the 4th step is document evaluation process. Here again, say they have the top 76, they start looking at the justifications, those documents that prove the score. And if by chance a company has made a mistake and their score is lower, they review it. If they drop out of the 76, then they pick the 77th one and start going through the process with it. So at the end of the day, the government is going to look only at 76 proposals instead of 500 that they have received. So it's much less workload for them. And that's how they're going to actually go through this process. Now, in the next slide, I'm going to show you what that acceptability review covers. So these are all the things that they're going to look in acceptability review. So SF33, individual subcontracting plan, Merkle, if it's there, existing joint venture or partnership agreement, small business contracting teaming agreement, subcontractor letter of commitment, professional employee compensation plan, uncompensated overtime policy, reps and certs, vets 4212, if that's the case for your company, CSCRM, responsibility questionnaire, organizational conflict of interest form, and price proposal. These they go through these, and if they're okay with these, then they go to the fourth step and start looking at the justification for those score. And finally, if you're good, if you remain one of those 76 companies, then you're awarded. So that's essentially the selection process. Okay, let's discuss partnering now, because it's important. As I mentioned, for other than small businesses, i.e. large businesses, you can only have JVs in terms of partnering. Obviously, you can go solo, but you can create a JV with another company, and that's good to go. But for small businesses, in addition to being able to go solo, you can also go have a small business JV. You can have a prime sub relationship. And remember that both you and as the prime and the subs must be small, under 541512. So you can't bring in a large business in a prime sub relationship. And then you have the small business mentor protege JVs. So all of these are acceptable for small businesses. And remember, the good thing about small businesses is that you can use the NAICS and the ET relevant experience projects from your partners, from your subs, as well as past performance and system certifications and clearances as well. And we're going to discuss these in detail now very quickly. We're running out of time. So for large businesses, only existing JVs are allowed. Prime sub relationships are allowed. You can always have them, but as your team, but you cannot use their experience towards reps or past performance and system certs, etc. If you have a joint venture, then you can actually use the relevant experience, past performance, and system certifications either from the JV itself, if they're in the name of the JV, or from one of the members. It doesn't have to be from all the members. Even the certs and reps can be in the name of one of the members. That's acceptable. You have to provide some clarification as how that works, but essentially you are allowed to get that point. For JVs, if the system certifications are not in the name of the JV itself, then you must describe how you intend to leverage the JV member's individual capability effectively in the performance of task. So maybe one of the members has top secret facility clearance, the other one doesn't have it. In that case, you have to explain how you're actually going to perform your projects when in that position, but you will be given that point. So that's for large businesses. For small business, prime sub relationship, as I said, both must be small, under 541512. Past performance and experience can be in the name of the prime, or in under the name of the subcontractors. System certifications are also, and they've changed this, are also allowed to be in the name of the contractor as well. So maybe your contractor has top secret facility clearance, but you as the prime do not have it. You do get the point, but you have to provide an explanation. Risk assessment elements, and this was for the large businesses as well. Those 7,000 points, again, you lose it if for each contract your team partners were not involved. But if your team partners were involved, all the subcontractors, maybe even say you have 3 subcontractors and you have this contract that 2 of them participated in with you, but 1 of them did not. You do not get that 1,000 points for that. So all the CTA members must have participated to get that risk assessment point. Financial responsibility documents must be submitted for the offer and each proposed subcontractor. And then a subcontractor agreement for each proposed subcontract must be included in your submission. If you have a MPJV, mentor protege JV, or small business JV, not mentor protege but usual, they are the same as far as Alliant 3. Then again, here you can use the past experience, past performance, and system certs, all of them in the name of the prime or in the name of any of the members. Not all of them, any of them. It used to be every member, but now it's changed. If you're going for, say, a CMMI level 2 or 3, scoring will only be awarded for the levels that are in the name of the joint venture or have been met or exceeded by all members. So maybe you're a JV of 2 members, 1 member has level 2 and 1 member has level 3. Then you get the points for level 2. But if the level 3 is in the name of the JV, even though one of the members has level 2, that's fine. Then you submit the level 3 in the name of the JV, get the points for level 3. Okay, and you cannot use Merkle to get certifications. That's one of the things you should remember. Okay, lastly, partnering. We have created a partnering hub. We actually created it for OASIS. It's a free partnering portal. You can actually go in there, register. Once you register, you can start searching for other companies, and you can also be searched by other companies. So they might contact you or you might contact them. We are not involved, so you communicate with each other and create, relationship as you like. In OASIS, there were about 500 companies who registered. If you are one of those, please go in and complete your profile again for Alliant 3, because we've changed it for Alliant 3. So it asks you number of contracts you have, if you have any of these emerging technologies. So it has specific questions that you can answer. And that way, other companies can find you easier and you can find other companies easier. And this is the link, partneringhub.gdicwins.com. If you download the presentation, you can always click on this link. It's linked to the website. You can go there. Okay, compliance issues and other factors. And as usual, I'm behind schedule. I will go very quickly on this. So first thing I want to emphasize is compliance. This is a picture of HCATs, GSA HCATs a few years ago. It's a self-scoring. And you can see the orange numbers, both for small business and large business, nearly 50% for large business, around 70% for small business, were eliminated. Proposals were eliminated due to being non-compliant. So compliance is a major issue in self-scoring proposals. Please pay enough attention to compliance and make reviews. How to prevent? Read the RFP and all the Q&As thoroughly multiple times. Create a reliable compliance checklist. Not a usual, compliance matrix that is in the traditional proposal writing. This is different. So self-scoring proposals are a different beast. If you're familiar with the traditional writing type proposals, they're completely different. So don't fall into the steps trying to, fit this into that one. This is completely different. So compliance checklist is completely different from a compliance matrix or anything like that in the traditional sense. Do at least 2 rounds of compliance checks when you're finished with the scoring. Attention to details is vital. And then discuss compliance with your team. Be a devil's advocate. Always assume that you've missed something. Always review. Utilize a third party, not necessarily a third party company, third party outside your system. So maybe in another department, but somebody who has done it before, to review your scoring and your proposal document, to have another set of eyes check your work, and do that multiple times with multiple people. These are really hard-earned experience we've had during these past years. So what can go wrong? Compliance, as usual. Misunderstanding the requirements, which turns into not maximizing your score, or the other way around, stretching your score too far, and also not substantiating your score. Maybe you really deserve that, but you've not provided the correct documents in the proper way, and you do not substantiate it properly, and you miss the score. And obviously, since it's submission through Symphony, not submitting the proposal correctly, Symphony is not, a copy-paste system. It's hard. It usually takes a day or two actually to submit everything and make sure everything is properly done. As far as experience in terms of time and resources, usually 50% of your time and resources is spent on contract selection and partnering. This is the usual. 25% on the actual proposal preparation, meaning the actual substantiation of the points that you came up with in the first part. And then compliance reviews, 20%, and submission, 5%. That's the usual for these types of self-scoring proposals. My last final recommendations. So some of the points I want to make. The score that you should aim for is, per our estimate, 80,000 points. So approximately 10,000 points less than the maximum. That should be your goal, to be on a safe side. This is an estimate, but we think that 80,000 would put you on a safe side for approximately 90,000 maximum points. In some self-scoring RFPs like OASIS and so forth, you're awarded if you get a certain score, like in OASIS 36 or 42 for large business. And we had a cushioning strategy. You would get a few points above that to make sure that you would not drop below that score. Here it doesn't work. Here your strategy should be to maximize each and every possible score. That's why I said go for sustainability, go for any points. Go and get a CPA to get at least those points for systems and certifications from CPAs if you don't have the DCMA points. For this reason, proper justification and compliance reviews are even more important than usual, and you want to make sure that you will actually be given each and every point that you have claimed. For OTSV large businesses, calculate your maximum score if you're solo using one of your JVs or as an MPJV, because you can't do both. Now, maybe you will get a higher point if you go with a mentor protege JV, because that's considered small business, than if you go, solo. So, discuss that in terms of the points and pick the best one. For small businesses, use partnering to its maximum limit. Bring as many team members as is possible into the CTA, that means JVs or prime sub, to increase your score. So what prevents you? There are no limits contractually. It's just logistic. How many you can actually reach out to reach an agreement. That's why you need to start yesterday, not today, not tomorrow, yesterday. You don't have that much time. Companies are teaming up already, and the company cannot be in multiple teams, just one team. OTSV large businesses do not have this option, so go for it. Also, for small businesses, with the current way the 7,000 points of organizational risk assessment is set up, carefully calculate your point gains and losses when bringing in new partners. So as a whole, whether you're small or large, do a thorough gap analysis, understand where you're lacking, and then look for partners if you're small on that basis. Make sure your proposal is reviewed by a separate compliance and review team within your organization or outside, who've done self-scoring proposals before, not people who've done traditional reviews. That doesn't help at all. People who've done self-scoring work before, they are the reviewers. And then do multiple reviews. And again, don't stick to the traditional compliance metrics, pink and red review systems. Those don't work with these types of proposals. Best, of course, is to get a third party like our company, but even if you're doing it in-house, make sure that you're doing it with people who've done this before multiple times. Okay, how we can help? We can do free consultation towards Alliant 3. Obviously, you can contact myself or Moron, my colleague, and you'll see our contact information in a minute. And then on that basis, we'll jump on a call, provide a free consultation to you. Eligibility and gap analysis is one of the services we provide. Full proposal development, we put a dedicated team, a proposal manager and his team, and a separate team that does the reviews and and compliance. So 2 different teams. And we do scoring, assessment, optimization, full proposal assembly, cradle to grave, full and multiple compliance checks, submission preparations. Everything will be on us, not on your team, on us, including communication if need be with your partners. We can take control of that as well. Or if you're doing it in-house, we can do reviewing and auditing. We do 2 rounds of compliance checks, score optimization checks, and submission preparations. So all of that, if you're doing it in-house, you would like us to review and audit your proposal. And essentially our services are 4 different departments. Very quickly: proposal development, capture management, support services and training. We can provide support for you outside Alliant 3. I won't go into the details of that due to time constraints. And here are myself and my colleague Maroon Freedy's email and phone number. You can contact us for free consultation. If you have any technical questions, please email me. I will be happy to respond to your questions if we run out of time for the questions here on the webinar. Okay, having said that, let's start with the Q&A. And I know that we are very short of time, only 5 minutes remaining.
The first question here is on visibility on task orders that are coming out on Alliant 3. The first place we typically recommend looking is at recompeting Alliant 2 task orders. Those are going to be the contracts most likely to reappear on Alliant 3. So you can use the tool, your preferred market intelligence tool, go in there and look at what's kind of coming up for recompete over the next year or 2. That's on the Alliant 2 and Alliant 1 vehicles for some things that are lingering on there to see what's sort of most likely to be coming out for recompete here shortly. Beyond that, I'd look at anything that's recompeting that's with NAICS 54512. It isn't on a vehicle today. I think that's probably going to be the next largest piece of that will get swept onto Alliant 3 ultimately from the new awardees shaping it and some pressure from the government to get some of the work that's not currently on these vehicles onto these vehicles. Next question, any recommendations on subcontracting, finding subcontracting partners for Alliant 3? Again, subcontracting, super important. In the Alliant vehicle, 900 companies won subcontracts last year under Alliant 2, which is roughly 15 times the number of prime awardees on the vehicle. So obviously a very critical vehicle for IT subcontractors. Our recommendation is to target existing award leaders on Alliant 2. So those shown in the deck here. Also look at how much each is subcontracting out under the vehicle. Subcontract rates for sort of the top contractors range from 20 to 30% up to close to 100% being subcontracted out. It does just vary quite a bit by contractor. And obviously also looking at the type of work being subcontracted out, because it varies pretty significantly as well by contractor. And I would expect a lot of the task orders that'll be coming out for recompete under Alliant 3 that are currently under Alliant 2. There's going to be there's going to be a lot of money there, and 2, there's going to be a very large number of subcontractors on there. So I think for folks that are looking to sub, that'll be important. And I should also point out, of those 900 companies that were subcontracting, 60 of those were also prime contractors on the vehicle. So there were a lot of Alliant 2 primes that were subbing to each other. And again, I would expect that would continue for Alliant 3. So I think subcontracting is an important thing to think about, whether you're looking to prime on Alliant 3 or sub. You probably want to be doing both.
So, George, question from George. Why do you say large businesses can't use subcontractors to boost their score? Okay, so if you want to have a specific RFP reference, here it is. Go to page 285 of the RFP, last paragraph. I'm reading off from it. And other than small business offerer with first tier subcontractors must use OTSP offerers UEI number and will not be allowed to use the relevant experience, past performance, system certifications and clearances of first-tier subcontractors for their proposal submission. I'm quoting this, maybe I'm misunderstanding, but this is my understanding. We'll see. I'm sure this will be one of the questions posed to the government, but we'll see how it goes. Another question from Mary. Is there a limit to the number of partners in a teaming arrangement? No, Mary, there is no limit, so you can have as many as is logistically possible for you to actually bring them on. But remember, you lose those 1,000 points for organizational risk assessment, but probably you will gain more, especially if you're a small business. Next question from another Stephen. How have you calculated the 80,000 threshold that you mentioned? Okay, so there are a number of factors that work into that, but the simplest is this. The previous Alliant 2, the score, if I'm not mistaken, was around 88%, 88.3 or 6% of the total value. The score here is approximately the same from Alliant 2, a little bit less, but there are some factors that have changed, including these partnering issues with small businesses. That's why if you calculate it based on that, you come to around 80,000 points. So that's why I'm saying 80,000. But that is not something that, that's something to gauge yourself. But as I said, you should go for each and every point that you can get your hands on. That's essentially the strategy. Next question from Larry. Since relevant experience also includes emerging technology relevant experience, it seems unfair that large businesses cannot use subcontractors for even ET reps. What is your take on that? Yes, Larry, that's correct. With the current wording of the RFP, OTSPs cannot use subs for ET reps because the wording says that I just read from you. It says relevant experience. It doesn't say next relevant experience or ET relevant experience. It just says they are not allowed to use relevant experience. So far it says that ET experience cannot be, come from subs for large businesses. We'll have to see if they change that in responding to the questions. I suggest to large businesses to have a few companies, smaller businesses that do ET work, emerging technology work, in their bag just in case that GSA changes or clarifies this, so they can use this and get that 6,600 points there. I see that there are a lot of these questions still remaining. Some of them Cal has responded to, the ones towards sales. But anyways, if I have not answered any questions and you've already written it, or if you still have any questions, please, the chat system will be active. So continue to write your questions and I will reach back to you with email and respond to you. Thank you again for participating in our webinar. We look forward to seeing you in our future webinars. One last note is that I would very much appreciate if you could put in a few words about how you found this webinar, what the weaknesses are, and what the strengths are, so that we can actually improve our webinars. Thank you so much and have a wonderful day.